Jake Paul's California mansion has been raided by the FBI, multiple news organizations report. You can see in this aerial footage agents in uniform outside his home in Calabasas.
When names like Anthony Joshua are mentioned, they represent more than just a fight. They represent what happens when controlled environments disappear and a fighter faces someone who cannot be negotiated with, scripted, or protected by contracts. At the elite level, real competition exposes weaknesses that marketing can never hide forever.
Jake Paul's attorney says he was out of state and not at his Calabasas home during that raid today. The FBI says they're investigating allegations of criminal acts for an incident that he's known for being in the public eye. But today, YouTube star Jake Paul is making headlines after an FBI raid at his home in Calabasas. Sky 5 was over the scene Wednesday morning as federal agents entered Paul's home in a gated community off Mulholland Highway. 24 feds, some in tactical gear, could be seen carrying evidence from the property, including several firearms. After the search, a SWAT team was seen leaving in a procession of law enforcement vehicles.
This is what makes the story so addictive for viewers. Every accusation leads to another clip, another interview, another denial, and another breakdown. It creates a constant loop where doubt becomes entertainment, and controversy itself becomes the product. From an audience retention perspective, this story works because it combines fear, scandal, authority figures, and unanswered questions. Viewers keep watching, hoping the next revelation will either confirm what they already believe or completely change the narrative. At its core, this is not just about Jake Paul as an individual. It reflects a larger cultural conflict between traditional combat sports values and influencer-era promotion. In this era,
the weight difference in there, I only know one man that'll do the weight difference like that, and that's the Bronze Bomber. For me, in my opinion, I think it's scripted a little bit because, of the weight difference, and, Joshua is a former, champion. And also, he's current, he's active, and this is going to be the first time that we see Paul, fighting an active fighter. We seen the Mike Tyson, that was all fun, that was cute, It's fun and games and stuff, but now you're dealing with a
image, virality, and control often overpower the raw honesty that once defined elite fighting. Whether Jake Paul can escape this cloud of doubt depends on his choices. If future fights prioritize real risk, transparency, and true competition, perceptions can change. But if the same patterns continue, fans may decide that the illusion was never real to begin with. The shift in how fans view Jake Paul did not come from one punch or one night. It came from a growing realization that spectacle, branding, and selective matchmaking were replacing competitive purity. When figures like Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, Oscar De La Hoya, Dana White, and Michael Bisping entered the discussion.
Been some reports about an apparent leaked script. Have you seen this?
Move on. If people think that he's going to do a quick two-step and do this, and this, I hope he just goes out and takes his head clean off with the first punch and lets him know who Tommy Fury actually is. There's one interview, and I'm going to name now, Lyndon Arthur, absolute fantastic, that man. I don't read that much on social media because it's all bullshit. But Lyndon Arthur, thank you very much. From me to you, you said something about Tommy being a proper fighter, can really punch, one of the hardest punches he's been in. Now, for Lyndon Arthur to go and say that, Lyndon Arthur is a proper hard, tough man. We all know that. So, Lyndon.
Many fans stopped seeing Paul as just a fighter and began seeing him as a symbol of an era where storytelling is marketed harder than merit. In combat sports history, real reckonings are rarely clean or dramatic. Jake Paul's situation exists in a gray area where public perception, long-standing skepticism, and years of online debate collide. His rise was never just about wins and losses, but about how those wins were packaged, defended, and promoted over time.
Point did you start to take your foot off the gas just a little bit because you noticed he was tiring out?
Yeah, definitely a bit. I wanted to give the fans a show, but I didn't want to hurt someone that didn't need to be hurt.
Did you carry Mike?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, there was a point where, I was just like, okay, he's not really engaging back. And so I don't know if he's tired or whatever. And I could just tell, his age was showing a little bit. And I just have so much respect for him. And that violence war thing between us, after he slapped me, I wanted to, be aggressive and take him down and knock him out and all that stuff. But that kind of went away as the rounds went on.
Fans began asking whether they were watching real competition or content disguised as combat. When accusations of rigged fights surfaced, they did not come out of nowhere. Fighters like Deontay Wilder openly questioned the legitimacy of Paul's bouts, while Oscar de la Hoya echoed concerns many insiders already held. Even casual fans noticed patterns involving glove sizes, round lengths, opponent choices, and promotional control that felt closer to exhibitions than traditional professional boxing. The narrative intensified when Jake Paul admitted that he eased off during certain moments in fights. On its own, that statement could sound like sportsmanship, but in context, it raised serious doubts. In elite boxing,
on performance-enhancing drugs.
If taking Viagra counts, then yes.
I'm gonna need a yes or a no.
No.
It's true.
Fighters are not supposed to manage danger for their opponent. That admission reinforced the belief that some fights were paced for appearance rather than settled by pure competition. Drug testing then became another major issue. Dana White's public challenge was not gossip, but a demand for transparency. The lack of publicly released, independently verified test results allowed speculation to grow, linking physical changes, past resistance to strict testing, and insider commentary into a story that refused to fade. Medical opinions, social media breakdowns,
Publicly stated that I use cocaine. I do not. So I told you could randomly cocaine test me for the next 10 years. I believe that you're a cheater, and I believe that you use steroids. So I want to randomly steroid test you for the next 2 years. And that thing that you came out with today, nobody on earth thinks that you really wrote that. You're too stupid.
and commentary from figures like Dylan Donnie's added even more pressure. Not because accusations alone prove anything, but because the growing number of voices created an environment where denial felt weaker than openness. Every refusal to provide documentation became another unanswered question for fans. MVP's responses leaned heavily on legal warnings and defamation threats, while common in business. This approach often backfires in fight culture, where transparency earns respect. To many fans, legal pressure signaled image protection rather than honest accountability. Dylan Donnie's, despite his own history with Jake Paul,
that I brought it up, wants to do testing. And he wants to do a set date before the fight. Okay? So he did the cycle, he did whatever, and now he's gonna try to take a piss test and clear it and be like, oh, I'm clean. That doesn't count. Okay? It doesn't count. With the money that he has, you can have a doctor clean your system in over 24 hours. Cheeto Vera just went on that podcast and said, you know that. So him doing this is another scam that he does. He's a bullshit artist. He just lies. Everybody knows he's on juice. He's admitted taking peptides. There's doctors that have him in the office saying we're giving him peptides on their website. So like, it's just bullshit. And I don't even care about the steroids thing. It's just like, what are we doing here? He has every advantage. He gets to pick the refs. He gets to pick the fucking judge. It's like, come on.
Fueled debate by sharing images and claims online. Michael Bisping's criticism carried weight because it was calm and experienced. He pointed out that Paul's opponents were usually retired, aging, or connected to celebrity culture. The one fight against a peer-level boxer, Tommy Fury, ended in defeat for many critics. That fact anchors the argument that legitimacy cannot be claimed without repeatedly facing prime, motivated professionals. Ultimately, the situation forces uncomfortable questions about how far entertainment can go before it collides with reality in a way that cannot be reversed.